Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 193 of A Year of Change. Today, as promised on Saturday, I'm going to talk on something that, it's actually, I'm going to try to keep this a little more coherent than yesterday. Yesterday was really bad. I do apologize. So we're going to be on target, and I have a very big word to say too. So on Saturday, I had briefly mentioned that a coworker had mentioned to me about oatmeal and changing it from a sweet thing to a savory thing, and I said I may try it, which I did, and that's what we're going to get to. So generally speaking, we tend to think of oatmeal as not necessarily sweet, but it's generally associated with something that is sweetened. We'll have it's a breakfast thing, and we will put in maybe a little bit of butter or something for some of us, but it's a cereal thing. So we put in like honey or sugar or something in there with it. And it wasn't anything that I really thought of as a savory option that I would ever want to try because it never occurred to me. So she had mentioned, I guess this has been going around for a while now, savory oatmeal or savory oats. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try, see what happens, and then I can share along with you. Long story short, not a fan. It's one of those things that we simply don't think of, but where we're trying to broaden our horizons a little bit and get some variety in our diet, I thought it was a good idea to try. And I think, any variety is good anyway. If we're only eating 10 things, then we're only really getting nutrients from those 10 things. So if you add in even, 5 more foods, then at some point, there's going to be one of those 5 foods that's going to give you something more than one of the other 10 doesn't. So it's either vitamin A or iron or something that you're going to need. So the more that, the more broaderister, I said I was going to say something really stupid. The more variety that we have in our diet, the easier it's going to be for us to get the different vitamins and minerals and nutrients and everything else that we need without having to sort of nitpick everything and say, well, I can only have this for breakfast and this for lunch, and then this way I get 100% of everything I need. It's not going to... there are some people that can do that, but that's not what we're looking at. We're trying to keep things practical, and part of that is being able to sort of look week by week to see if we're getting everything that we need. We may not get all the salt that we need in a day, or I probably do, or, we may not get all the magnesium that we need in a day. But overall, through the course of a week, if we can look at our levels and say, okay, yeah, I'm getting roughly what I need, then we're probably going to be good. Anyway, the oat thing. I tried the savory ones. I wanted to try a bunch of different ones because it's sort of difficult getting my mind around. We associate it with sweetness. They aren't necessarily sweet, but you know what I mean. But it's just trying to wrap my mind around the savory part of it. I thought I might be a little bit averse to that. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to just make a little batch of it and try 2 or 3 different spoonfuls of different kinds of things. Overall, I tried one where there was the just sort of a mixture of salad herbs. And then I tried one with Greek spice mix thing. Then I have just the little clubhouse spices. I tried a curry one. Don't recommend that one either. And overall, it's one of those things that you think, it's not bad if I had a little bit to the side as part of a meal. It would be something that would be different. But in general, I'm going to say no. If you're going to start doing like an oatmeal thing for breakfast, the savory thing is not necessarily where you want to go. Very loud car. Sorry. But it got me looking at other stuff that, because I thought I do like oatmeal in general. When I was a kid, I used to dump in so much sugar that it would just essentially be a bowl of like brown sugar soup. Because you have to have brown sugar on it. You can't, for some reason, the white sugar just doesn't seem to do it. You have to have brown, sometimes yellow sugar, that's okay, but generally brown sugar does it. But where we're trying to cut back on our sugar, I didn't really want to start saying, well, we can start adding more stuff in. But with the savory stuff, you're generally going to add in more salt, so it's sort of a toss-up. But here's the thing. Because, we've all sort of generally accepted that oats are healthy. And they are. There's a lot of stuff in there that is going to help us out, especially if you're going to go into something where you're going to be eating it every day or even 3 or 4 times a week. Here's where the big word's going to be coming in. Number one, it's got more soluble fiber than anything else out there, or more than wheat anyway. For a breakfast cereal, and if you remember, soluble fiber is the stuff that will absorb water, and it swells up. It keeps us fuller for longer. It helps move things through nice and smoothly. So it's very good that way. There's, aside from the nutrients and everything else, there's something in oats that is not found in any other grain. And I'm going to try to remember the word for this. Almost had it. Avananthramides. Basically what these are, we talked about cholesterol a couple weeks ago anyway, where there was the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. The stuff that actually attacks the stuff in our bodies that attack the bad cholesterol, there are things that attack that. The avananthramides help defend against the things that attack the things that are helping us not attack other things. I know it doesn't make any sense. Basically, it's good for you. It will help with your good cholesterol, and it will help get rid of your bad cholesterol. That's really the best way to put it. Plus, that's actually the same stuff in oatmeal that people use it for a face mask, and it stops itching and all the other stuff. That's what it is, the avananthramides. And apparently it's the only source for food that we really have. It's not one of those things like, I have to have it now. You've gone this far, you've been fine. Don't worry. But it's very good for you anyway, which we all sort of know. This is something that, it's just like anything else. We all know this. It's just sort of getting to that point where we can have it without adding in 10 pounds of sugar. And that's where the problem lies with oats. I mean, they're very, very healthy. Definitely, if you are keen on them, go get some. Best thing, even just there are a bunch of different variations. There were I tried 2 different kinds. I bought 2 great big bags because I figured I haven't had them in a while and I really do like them. There are the steel oats, which are basically just the oat grain that's been chopped up. So it has a lot more bran in it, which is very good for us. There's a whole bunch of things that does as well, which you didn't get into, and it probably should have, because this is now turning into something else. And then there's what we're most familiar with are what's called the rolled oats, just the flakes, which is the same thing. It's still the oat grain. It's just that they steam it, and then they press it, and then they just they roll it out. There we go, hence the term rolled oats. They press it out, and then they steam it just to make sure that it doesn't sort of spring back to where it needs to be. Those are the ones that we're most familiar with. And generally, I mean, you don't have to have an entire bowl every single day. If you like it, then certainly go for it. But where we're trying to cut back on the amount of sugar that we're adding, we don't really want to get to a point where we're having a bowl and then adding in 4 or 5, teaspoons of sugar. Which does bring me to another point. A long time ago when we started looking at cereals and we were just doing calories. The cereal that I've been eating, I remember I had said, on Saturday, I said that I thought it was roughly 3 teaspoons of sugar or I guess it was Sunday, 3 teaspoons of sugar per bowl. I took a look at it, and in one bowl, in one bowl of cereal, it's 3/4 of a cup, there are 8 grams of sugar, which roughly equals out to around 2 teaspoons of sugar per bowl. So I'm trying to think of that, equate that to if I bought shredded wheat or something, and putting in 2 teaspoons of sugar on top of that, it might be a little much. So I sort of want to avoid getting to a point where we're just eating just those dusty, weedy pillows and nothing else in there, because again, that's not something that we're going to stay with forever. We are going to want something that's going to at least be palatable while we're having breakfast. So I just cut back a little bit on the amount that I had in there and threw in a handful of raw oats. So there you go, because you can't eat them raw. They're fine. It's that oatmeal that we're so used to that you do need to add something in there. But say that you made a regular bowl, throwing in 2 teaspoons of brown sugar is still better than some of the cereals that we're eating already. And especially if we're trying to cut back, the benefits of having that bowl of oatmeal as opposed to having, sugar pop explosion cereal things or whatever you're eating, it's going to outweigh that. So if we add in a little bit of sugar, it's going to be okay. If you're adding in the same amount as the other stuff, actually, you know what? When you think about it, if you're adding in, say that you're eating cereal that is, say, 5 tablespoons or teaspoons of sugar per bowl. So say it's 20 grams of sugar. Even if you had your oatmeal with the same amount of sugar added to it, it's probably going to be healthier than the shitty cereal. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper, too. So something to think of. Think about. Think of. I can't talk at all, but I'm doing better than I was yesterday. I'm a little more focused. So anyway, just like we were talking about before when we're starting our exercise and stuff like that, doing anything is better than doing nothing. And in this case, where we're just starting out, especially for those of us out there that have a really strong sweet tooth, this is probably a good option for us. Plus, I mean, again, the benefits, you're going to be eating less because you stay fuller for longer. And it's very, very good for you all the way around. Any of you that have, any of you that have had oatmeal, you know how long you stay full. It doesn't take much either to fill you up. I had made just 1 cup of the steel oats, which is more, they're just chopped into little pieces and just left. So they take a little bit longer to cook, but they do fill you up quite a bit. And I only ate half of it, and I was full. And it wasn't just because of the savory thing, which is what this was actually designed to be. But the savory, like I say, it's one of those things, if it's to the side of a main meal, it might be something different. But really, when you're eating it, the only thing you can think of is, why don't I just have rice? Because it does take on the flavor of stuff, but it's not something that I would say, oh, well, this is what I'm going to have now. Although it's probably much, much better for you than rice. But even just salt and pepper was fine. I don't recommend the curry oatmeal. That was not pleasant at all. The salad herb ones I would have again, and the Greek ones I would probably have again. But in general, I would actually probably rather have it just plain rather than the savory stuff. And I don't know if it's because we're just so not used to it. But I tried it, so it's good. So I would recommend trying it at least. I tried it with the steel oats rather than the rolled ones. Just because I wanted something with a little more texture to it. And it just seemed to suit it a little bit better than having just a bowl of oatmeal and putting in salt and pepper. So anyway, we should really concentrate more on the health benefits of this stuff, but it's one of those things that we all know that, like, above any cereal that we're going to be buying in the store, oatmeal is probably the best bet that you have. And for any of you that, I mean, if you're watching me, then you know who Obese to Beast is, and he's got his own oatmeal thing going on. So you can go up, you can design your own. I'm more of a buy it in bulk and just have the oatmeal because I like the taste of it, rather than adding in like chocolate and nuts and fruits and berries and everything else in there. I don't like a lot of stuff mixed in with everything. I'd rather just have it as is. And especially where we're trying to sort of cut back on the amount of sugar that we're looking at. If you're starting out, just go to a bulk store somewhere, grab a scoopful, and try different things, mix in with it. Whether it's, a little bit of honey or brown sugar, whatever you decide to do, or molasses, there you go, there's another one. Whatever you decide to do to try it, just keeping in mind that you don't want to go overboard and say, well, it's oatmeal, so I can put in half a cup of molasses. It's fine. We're still trying to watch our sugar intake. But for something like this, it is going to be, much, much better for us than what we're eating now, including the cereal that I'm eating. Now, again, not to say that we have to have oatmeal every single day. We need to keep this practical. We need to keep this sustainable. If you really, really enjoy them and you find a mixture that you really do like, that you look at it and say, look, there's very little sugar in it. There's lots of protein in it. There's tons of iron. This is actually the same for all oatmeal. But if you've thrown in like a handful of almonds or something, or whatever you decide to do, I don't want to turn all hippie, but whatever you decide to do when you look at it and say, okay, this is actually very healthy, it's low in sugar, it's low in sodium, it's low in everything bad, and I really, really like it, then yeah, if you can do it every day, then definitely do it every day. For me, I'm one of those people that even the cereal that I do have, which I really, really do enjoy, if I do have cereal, that's what I have, but it's not the same every day. There are some days that I think, I kind of want just some toast, or there are days I want bacon and eggs. So you're not going to be restricted to just having one thing. We need to keep our minds open and variety once again. Anyway, overall, the savory thing, not my favorite. I mean, it's one of those things that if someone served it to you, you would eat it, and you'd be okay. But I can't imagine I'm actually going to go and prepare it again. But you never know. Might try it again. But in general, I think I'm going to of course, going to start sort of leaning towards adding more oats in with my cereal and start weaning off that much so that, because 2 teaspoons isn't a lot, but I need to cut back wherever I can, and I don't mind it. I've cut back on my coffee with the sugar I put in there, so gradually the same thing with the salt. I'm just going to sort of cut back on the amount of added sugar. Then we can start worrying about the extra sugar that's in foods and everything else. I mean, we're still watching it this week just to, so that we're a little more aware of it. But as far as saying, okay, well, I have to buy sugar-free this and sugar-free that, no. We're going to keep things realistic. But just all the added sugar that we're throwing in, we can control that, and it's a little easier for us to do, especially where we're just starting out. So anyway, go up, take a look. I was going to put a study in. Actually, I still will. I'll put the study in the description below that they looked at oats and the avenanthramides. I hope I'm pronouncing that. I think I am. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Just in case you really want to know what they do, basically it helps with prevent the hardening of the arteries, which is arteriosclerosis. So it is good that way. It helps with the good cholesterol. It helps with the bad cholesterol. Overall, it's very, very helpful. But there are a lot of things in oats that are going to help along with that. You can go up and you can find it everywhere. There's a whole bunch. There are some things that they look at and they say, oh, well, it helps against cancer and it helps against this and this. I'm trying to find stuff that actually is from, like medical journals and things like that. The link below is from the Mayo Clinic, I think, or National Institute of Health, one of the two. It's generally those are the two that I go with. I think it's actually from the National Institute of Health. So, but when you're finding, all these little bits of information from just anyone saying, oh, well, it helps with this and this and this and this, make sure that you do find out that it actually does help with that, because sometimes it's one of those things that you say, oh, well, it helps with cancer, for example. Say, well, not any more than bananas do. So we try to avoid the term superfoods because they just, what's the term? Don't exist. Because really, we need to sort of open things up and eat more of everything. Not at the same time. That's what got us into this situation in the first place. Don't eat everything all the time. We know that. You know what I mean. We need to broaden our horizons. Hey, I can speak a little bit better today, but obviously it's still not working properly. And the skunk smell is gone. So there we go. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.